The evening shadows lengthened across the small, cosy living room where Cynthia sat curled up on the couch, lost in thought. The wall clock ticked steadily, marking the passage of another day without Ryan. She gazed at the empty chair across from her, remembering the warmth of his presence. Those days when he was home felt like brief, stolen moments in time, too fleeting, too precious. Her phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was Ryan. "Hey, love, just checking in. How's your day?" His voice, always a balm, came through the speaker. "Quiet without you," Cynthia replied, trying to mask the loneliness in her voice. "How busy as usual. But listen, Cynthia, I've been thinking." Ryan's voice trailed off, a hint of excitement bubbling underneath. "What is it?" Cynthia sat up, her curiosity piqued. "I think we're really close, Cynthia. Close to making our dream a reality. A few more months of this grind, and we can start looking for our dream home." Cynthia's heart swelled with a mixture of joy and apprehension. "Really? That's amazing, Ryan. But I miss you. These empty evenings are getting tougher." "I know, sweetheart, I know. But think about it. Our own place, a beautiful garden, a spacious kitchen for your baking experiments, and maybe even a little nursery." Ryan's voice was thick with hope. The vision he painted was alluring. "It sounds wonderful, Ryan. It's just that." Cynthia hesitated, biting her lip. "Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't you take some time off work when I'm back next? We'll spend those days together, just like old times." "How does that sound?" Ryan suggested eagerly. Cynthia's heart leaped at the thought. "I'd love that," she said, her voice softening. The next few weeks passed in a blur of anticipation. Ryan's return was like a ray of sunshine, dispelling the gloom of his absence. They revisited their favourite spots in the city, cooked meals together, and spent evenings planning their future. One such evening, as they sat with mugs of hot cocoa, Cynthia nestled against Ryan, feeling the warmth of his embrace. "I can't wait for us to start our new life together in our dream home," she whispered. Ryan kissed the top of her head. "We're almost there, Cynthia. Our forever home. Just a little longer, and it'll be ours." But as Ryan spoke, Cynthia couldn't shake off a nagging feeling. The joy of their togetherness was overshadowed by the looming goodbye, the return to her solitary wait. Yet she clung to Ryan's promise, a beacon in the uncertainty of their presence. As they lay in bed that night, Cynthia listened to Ryan's steady breathing, memorizing the moment. She wanted to believe in their happy future, in the promise of forever, but deep down, a small voice whispered of the fragile nature of dreams, leaving her to wonder if their plans would truly withstand the test of time and distance. The morning light filtered through the curtains as Cynthia and Ryan sat at the breakfast table, their coffee cups casting warm shadows on the wooden surface. The air was thick with anticipation, a canvas waiting to be painted with their shared dreams. Ryan reached across the table, taking Cynthia's hand. "Let's talk about the house, Cynthia. What do you see when you imagine our dream home?" Cynthia's eyes sparkled, reflecting a myriad of unspoken dreams. "I've always dreamed of a cozy yet spacious home. A place that's filled with light, where every corner tells a story of us." She squeezed his hand, her voice tinged with "A garden where we can plant roses and watch them bloom, just like our love." Ryan's face lit up with a smile. "I love that, and I've been thinking about a fireplace in the living room. Imagine us, curled up in front of a crackling fire on a cold winter's night, just enjoying the warmth." "Oh, Ryan, that sounds perfect." Cynthia's heart fluttered at the thought. "And what about a library? A little nook where we can lose ourselves in books on lazy Sunday afternoons." "A library it is, then," Ryan agreed, his imagination already wandering through the shelves of books. "And we shouldn't forget a spacious kitchen. I know how much you love cooking. We could have an island in the middle, maybe some hanging pots and herbs." Cynthia laughed, the sound bright and clear. "You've thought of everything. It sounds like It will be our reality soon, Cynthia. I promise. Ryan's voice was earnest, his eyes holding hers. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, weaving a tapestry of hopes and aspirations. They talked about colour schemes, about furniture, about the little details that would make the house uniquely theirs. As the day progressed, they took a walk through a nearby neighbourhood, admiring different houses, commenting on what they liked and didn't like. What about a house like that one? Ryan pointed at a charming 2-story house with a red door. Cynthia tilted her head, considering. It's lovely, but I think I'd prefer something a bit more modern. How about that one over there? She gestured towards a house with large windows and a minimalist design. Ryan nodded in agreement. It's beautiful, and it looks like it gets a lot of natural light, just like you wanted. They strolled through the streets, hand in hand, lost in a world of their own. The dream of their future home brought them closer, knitting their hopes together in a shared vision. As evening fell, they returned home, hearts full of plans and minds buzzing with ideas. Lying in bed that night, Cynthia whispered, "Thank you, Ryan, for making this dream feel so real." Ryan pulled her closer, his voice soft and steady. "It's our dream, Cynthia, and we'll make it come true together." In that moment, with Ryan's arms around her, the dream of their home felt tangible, a beacon of hope in the vast ocean of their love. But as Cynthia drifted off to sleep, a shadow of uncertainty lingered at the edge of her consciousness. The promise of their dream home was a balm to her soul, yet the reality of their present situation, the distance, the waiting, whispered doubts she dared not voice. The evening was quiet, a gentle rain tapping against the window panes as Cynthia lounged on the sofa. The glow from her laptop screen cast a soft light in the dim room. Scrolling through her social media feed, she sought to distract herself from the loneliness that settled in with Ryan's absence. Her heart skipped a beat when Ryan's name popped up in her feed. Finally, some updates from him, she murmured, expecting his usual work-related posts. But the image that loaded wasn't what she anticipated. It was Ryan, looking relaxed and happy, but not alone. Beside him stood a blonde woman, their arms wrapped around each other, standing on a sun-kissed beach. The caption hit Cynthia like a punch in the gut. "Our honeymoon." No, this can't be. Cynthia's voice was barely a whisper, her fingers trembling as she clicked on the image. The details of the photo blurred as tears welled up in her eyes. She hastily wiped them away, trying to rationalize what it must be some sort of joke, she muttered to herself. She dialed Pamela's number, her hands shaking. "Pam, I need you to see something." Pamela's voice was calm and soothing. "Cynthia, what's wrong?" Cynthia struggled to speak through her tears. "Can you come over? Please, I don't know what to do." Within half an hour, Pamela was at Cynthia's door. "Show me what happened," she said, sitting down beside Cynthia and putting an arm around her. Cynthia handed her the laptop, pointing to the photo. "Look at this. It's Ryan, but..." Pamela studied the photo, her brow furrowing. "Cynthia, are you sure there's no mistake? Maybe it's an old photo, or perhaps..." "It's his sweater," Cynthia cut her off, her voice breaking. "The one I gave him last Christmas. He's wearing it in the picture." Pamela had no words. She looked at her friend, her heart aching at the pain in Cynthia's eyes. "I need to know the truth, Pam." Cynthia's voice was resolute despite her tears. "I have to contact her, this woman in the photo." "Do you think that's wise?" Pamela asked gently. "Confronting her might not give you the answers you want." "I have to try, Pam. I can't just sit here wondering." Cynthia's determination was evident. With Pamela beside her, Cynthia composed a message to the unknown woman, her fingers hesitating over the keys. "What should I say?" "Start with the truth," Pamela suggested. "Tell her you saw the photo and need to understand." Cynthia typed the message, her heart heavy with every word. "Ryan is my husband. I saw your photo. Please, I just need to know the truth." They waited, the silence between them heavy. When the reply came, it was short and cold. Ryan shouldn't come back. We're happy. Proceed with your divorce. Cynthia's heart shattered. The message was clear. Her marriage, her dreams with Ryan, everything seemed like a lie now. Pamela hugged her tightly. I'm so sorry, Cynthia. We'll figure this out. You're not a lady. But Cynthia felt alone, adrift in a sea of betrayal and confusion. The future she had envisioned with Ryan was crumbling before her eyes, and she was powerless to stop it. Cynthia sat motionless on the couch, the room dim except for the soft glow of a single lamp. The message from the mysterious woman echoed endlessly in her mind, a relentless tide of heartache. Pamela, who had stayed the night, watched her friend with a mix of concern and sadness. Pam, what if this is all a huge misunderstanding? Cynthia finally broke the silence, her voice tinged with a faint hope. Pamela, sitting across from her, leaned forward. What do you mean? I mean, could there be another explanation? Could it? Could it be someone else, not Ryan? Cynthia's eyes searched Pamela's for a glimmer of possibility. Pamela sighed. Cynthia, I want to believe that. But the sweater, it's his. And the way they were together in that photo. It's hard to imagine it's... But what if he has a look-alike, or what if the photo is doctored? Cynthia's voice was desperate, grasping at straws. Cynthia, you know that's unlikely, Pamela replied gently. I think you're trying to find excuses because the truth is too painful to accept. Cynthia buried her face in her hands. But how? How could he do this to me? To us? We were planning our future, our home. Pamela moved closer, putting an arm around Cynthia's shoulders. I know it's hard to believe. Ryan always seemed so devoted to you, but people can hide parts of themselves, even from those they love. Cynthia looked up, her eyes red and swollen. I need to know why, Pam. I need to confront him, ask him why he would throw away everything we had. Confronting him might not give you the closure you're seeking, Pamela cautioned. Sometimes there are no satisfactory answers to these questions. But I can't just live with this doubt, this betrayal. It's eating me up inside, Cynthia said, her voice quivering. Pamela nodded. I understand. But be prepared, Cynthia. The truth might be more painful than the doubt. As the evening wore on, Cynthia's mind raced with countless questions and scenarios. Each time her phone buzzed, her heart leaped, hoping it was Ryan, yet dreading what he might say. Finally, she made a decision. I'm going to message him, Pamela. I can't wait any longer. Pamela watched as Cynthia typed out a message to Ryan, her fingers trembling. Ryan, we need to talk. It's urgent. Cynthia read the message aloud before hitting send. They waited in silence, the tension palpable. But the reply didn't come. Hours passed, turning into a sleepless night filled with haunting doubts and unshed tears. As dawn broke, Cynthia's resolve hardened. She would confront Ryan as soon as he returned. She needed to face the man she loved, the man who had seemingly betrayed her, and look him in the eyes as she sought the truth. But deep down, a part of her feared what that truth might be. The Ryan she knew and loved couldn't be capable of such deceit. Or could he? The gnawing doubt was a constant companion, casting a long shadow over her once happy memories. Cynthia's fingers hovered over her keyboard, uncertainty clouding her thoughts. The morning sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow over the room, in stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within her. Pamela sat by her side, a silent pillar of support. Are you sure you want to do this? Pamela asked gently, her eyes full of concern. Cynthia nodded resolutely, her voice steady. I need closure, Pam. With a deep breath, Cynthia composed a message to the blonde woman from the photograph, her heart pounding with each keystroke. Hello! I'm Ryan's wife. I saw your photo with him, and I'm trying to understand. Can we They waited anxiously. Minutes ticked by, stretching into what felt like hours. Finally, a reply notification popped. Cynthia clicked on it, her hands trembling. The message was brief and cold. Ryan is with me now. We're happy. I think it's best for you to move on. The finality of those words felt like a dagger in Cynthia's heart. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them back, refusing to break down. I can't believe this. It doesn't make sense. Why would Ryan do this? Cynthia's voice was a mix of disbelief and anguish. Pamela squeezed her hand. I'm so sorry, Cynthia. Maybe it's time to confront Ryan directly. Cynthia nodded. Yes, I need to hear it from him. I need to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The rest of the day passed in a blur for Cynthia. She tried to busy herself with mundane tasks, but her thoughts were consumed by the betrayal and the impending confrontation with Ryan. That evening, with Pamela's encouragement, Cynthia decided to call Ryan. Her hand shook as she dialed his number, her heart racing with a mix of fear and anger. The phone rang and rang, but there was no answer. Cynthia's message went unanswered as days passed with no word from Ryan. The silence was deafening, each unanswered call and message amplifying Cynthia's sense of betrayal. Feeling helpless and desperate for answers, Cynthia decided to visit Ryan's workplace. Maybe someone there knew something, anything that could shed light on the situation. Arriving at the office, Cynthia's appearance caused a stir. Her eyes searched the faces of Ryan's colleagues, looking for any sign of recognition or guilt. Can I help you, ma'am? A receptionist approached her, a look of curiosity on her face. I'm looking for Ryan, my husband. Is he here? Cynthia asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The receptionist's expression changed to one of confusion. I'm sorry, but Ryan hasn't been in for weeks. He's on a long-term assignment overseas. Cynthia's heart sank. The reality of Ryan's deceit was becoming more evident with each passing moment. Feeling defeated and lost, she thanked the receptionist and left. As she walked away from the building, a myriad of emotions engulfed her. The man she loved, the man she had trusted with her heart, had been living a lie. And now she was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. But Cynthia knew she couldn't let this defeat her. She would confront Ryan, demand answers, and then, no matter how painful, she would move on. The road ahead was uncertain, but she was determined to find her way back to herself, to reclaim the life that Ryan's betrayal had stolen from her. Several days after her disheartening visit to Ryan's workplace, Cynthia found herself at Ms. Helen's house, Ryan's mother. The older woman had always been kind to Cynthia, and in her search for answers, Cynthia hoped Helen might shed some light on the situation. As she sipped tea in the quaint, sunlit kitchen, Cynthia broached the subject. Mrs. Helen, I don't understand what's happening with Ryan. He's not been himself lately. Helen set her cup down, a frown creasing her forehead. What do you mean, dear? Cynthia hesitated, then relayed the discovery of the photos and the subsequent silence from Ryan. Mizzy, Helen listened intently, her expression growing more troubled with each word. This is so unlike Ryan, Miss Helen finally said. But there's something you should know, something about Ryan's past. Cynthia leaned forward, a sense of foreboding filling her. What? Helen rose and retrieved an old photo album from a shelf. She flipped through the pages until she came to a photo of two young boys, smiling at the camera. This is Ryan and his twin brother, Jacob. Cynthia's eyes widened in surprise. Twin brother. I didn't know Ryan had a brother. Miss Helen sighed. It's a painful part of our past. Jacob was very sick as a child. He didn't make it past his second birthday. We never told Ryan about him. We thought it would be too hard for him to understand. Cynthia stared at the photo, a whirlwind of thoughts spinning in her head. Could it be possible that the man in the photo isn't Ryan but Jacob? Helen shook her head sadly. I don't see how. Jacob passed away so young. But I suppose stranger things have happened. Cynthia's mind raced with this new information. If Ryan had a twin, could there have been some unbelievable mix-up? Was the man in the photo actually Jacob? It was a long shot, but in her heart, Cynthia clung to this sliver of hope. "Thank you, Ms. Helen. This has been enlightening," Cynthia said, still processing the revelation. As she left Helen's house, Cynthia's heart felt slightly lighter. The possibility, however remote, that Ryan might be innocent of the betrayal she had imagined gave her a new purpose. She needed to find out the truth about Jacob, about the man in the photo. It was a mystery that she couldn't let go unsolved. Determined, Cynthia decided her next step was to investigate Jacob's past. She needed to know everything about him, about his illness, about his short life. There had to be medical records, birth certificates, something that could prove whether the man in the photo was Ryan or Jacob. As Cynthia delved deeper into the mystery, she realized that the path to the truth was more complicated and twisted than she had ever imagined. But she was resolved to follow it, wherever it led. The truth about Ryan, about their relationship, hung in the balance, and Cynthia knew she wouldn't be able to move forward until she uncovered it. Days after her revelation about Ryan's twin, Cynthia was sitting in her living room when her phone finally rang. Seeing Ryan's name flash on the screen made her heart leap. She answered with a trembling voice. "Ryan." "Hey, Cynthia. I just got back into town. We need to talk. Can I come over?" Ryan's voice was wary, heavy with an unspoken burden. "Yes, come over. We have a lot to discuss," Cynthia replied, her voice a mix of anxiety and relief. An hour later, Ryan stood at her door. The moment she saw him, a torrent of emotions overwhelmed her. He stepped inside, and they sat facing each other, an awkward silence hanging between them. Cynthia took a deep breath. "Ryan, I saw the pictures. With you and another woman, and the messages. Why?" Ryan's face crumpled with guilt. "Cynthia, it's not what you think. That woman, she's just a friend from work. We were at a conference together, and it got out of hand. I never meant to hurt you." Cynthia's heart raced. "But the message," she said. "You were happy together, that I should move on." Ryan ran his fingers through his hair, a gesture of frustration. She misconstrued things. "I told her I was married, that it was a mistake. I was going to tell you everything." Tears streamed down Cynthia's face. "How can I believe you, Ryan? How can I trust anything you say?" "Cynthia, I know I've messed up. I've been so confused, and I've handled this all wrong. But I swear there's nothing between me and her." Cynthia shook her head, her mind a whirlwind of doubt and pain. "There's something else, Ryan. Your mother showed me a picture of your twin brother, Jacob. Is it possible that he's still alive? That he's the one in the photo?" Ryan stared at her, baffled. "Jacob? But he died when we were toddlers. It's impossible. I don't understand." Cynthia explained her visit to Ms. Helen and the discovery of Jacob's existence. Ryan listened, his expression one of shock and disbelief. "This is insane, Cynthia. Jacob's been gone for years. The man in those photos, it's me. I can't deny that. But this thing with my brother, it's just not possible." The room fell silent as they both processed the weight of the revelation. Cynthia felt torn between her love for Ryan and the betrayal she couldn't unsee. "Ryan, I need time. Time to think, to understand all this," Cynthia said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I'm sorry, Cynthia. I never wanted any of this. I'll give you all the time you need." With those words, Ryan left, leaving Cynthia alone with her thoughts. The revelation about Jacob, although unlikely, had sown a seed of doubt. Could there be more to Ryan's story? Or was it merely a desperate grasp at straws to avoid the painful truth? As night fell, Cynthia sat in the dark, the events of the past days replaying in her mind. The man she thought she knew, the life they planned, all of it now hung in the balance. In her heart, she knew that regardless of Jacob's existence, Ryan's betrayal was real. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The trust they once shared had been irrevocably shattered. Several weeks had passed since Ryan's confession and departure. Cynthia sat in the quiet of the apartment they once shared, now a shell of memories and broken promises. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but with it, a newfound sense of clarity and strength had begun to emerge. Her phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was Pamela, checking in as she had done every day since the revelation. "Cynthia, how are you holding up today?" Pamela's voice was gentle and caring. Cynthia sighed, gazing out the window at the city skyline. "I'm getting there, Pam. It's not easy, but I'm learning to accept what happened." "I'm proud of you, Cynthia. You're handling this with so much grace," Pamela replied. Cynthia smiled faintly. "I've been thinking a lot about me, about us, about what I want from life. I realized that my dreams don't have to die with this. With what Ryan did, they just need to be reborn, reshaped." "That's a beautiful way to look at it," Pamela said, her voice warm with admiration. Cynthia continued, her voice growing stronger. "I've decided to start over, Pam. I'm going to move out of this apartment, find a new place, a place just for me. I want to surround myself with things that make me happy, that remind me of who I am and who I want to be." "That sounds wonderful, Cynthia. If you need help with anything, you know I'm here," Pamela offered. "I know, and thank you. You've been my rock through all of this." Cynthia paused, taking a deep breath. "And there's more. I've decided to go back to school, to pursue the art degree I always wanted. It's time I followed my own dreams, not someone else's." Pamela's voice was full of excitement. "Cynthia, that's amazing. You're an incredible artist. You always have been. This is your chance to Cynthia felt a surge of determination. "It's now or never, right? I spent so much time living for Ryan for us, but now it's about me, my passions, my dreams, my life." The conversation with Pamela left Cynthia feeling invigorated. She spent the next few days apartment hunting, finally settling on a bright, cozy studio that felt just right. Packing up her belongings, she found a sense of liberation in leaving behind the past and stepping into her future. As she settled into her new place, surrounded by her art supplies and sketches, Cynthia felt a sense of peace. The pain of the past was still there, but it was no longer a chain that held her back. She was free to explore, to create. One evening, as she added the finishing touches to a painting, her phone rang. It was Ryan. She hesitated for a moment before answering. "Ryan, what do you want?" Her voice was calm, devoid of the hurt that once coloured it. "Cynthia, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I know it doesn't change what happened, but I needed you to know that." Cynthia took a deep breath. "Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate your apology, but I've moved on. I've started a new chapter in my life, one where I'm discovering who I am and what I'm capable of." "I'm glad to hear that, Cynthia. You always deserved the best." "I'm sorry I couldn't be that for you," Ryan said, his voice tinged with regret. "We both have our paths to walk, Ryan." "I wish you well on yours," Cynthia replied, a sense of closure enveloping her heart. As she ended the call, Cynthia looked around her new studio, her sanctuary. She realized that while the path ahead might be uncertain, she was no longer afraid to walk it. In the ruins of her old dreams, she had found the courage to build new ones, dreams that were uniquely hers. Her journey of self-discovery was just beginning, and she was ready to embrace whatever came her way.